Basically, I owe pretty much everything to the NHS, and I think if we lose it, it will be probably the biggest downfall this country will ever suffer.
How's the NHS changed your life?
Well, I could say the NHS gave me a life because when I was 12 years old, I was knocked off my bicycle by a hit and run driver, and I was left for dying. And if it hadn't have been for the ambulance that collected me and the skill of the nurses and the doctors that saved my life, I wouldn't be giving you this interview right now. I've got to say the NHS has benefited me immensely during my life with the way it has cared for my parents, has brought my children into the world, and I gave some of my time back because I worked for the NHS for 20 years as a nurse. So the NHS is the emerald to me, and it's got to be saved and it has to be invested in, and we cannot afford to lose it.
That it's all I've ever known, and it's been amazing. It's been a safety net for all of us, really, and I don't know how we could have all survived without it. I dread to think.
My little boy was born 15 weeks early. He had to have 19 operations before he was 1. He had a very low chance of survival on a lot of the days. And from being a £1.7 baby to now he's 5, he's medically absolutely fine. He has no long-term conditions, and that was all thanks to the NHS. If we lived in another country, that would have cost us absolutely millions and probably wouldn't have been covered on a lot of insurances. And from day one to now, he's massively looked after. We're always probably half an hour away from an appointment if we need anything. And they've given us a happy, healthy child, which shouldn't have been like medically. So yeah, they've been amazing.
I'd have died if my appendix had ruptured in 1948. I've had one baby here and one baby abroad. That's fairly similar, no problems. They were great when the children were small. I mean, I'm a walk from here, and they just helped. So yes, my mother was a nurse. I don't have anything to say against nurses.
So I think for starters, I actually have severe eczema, which has affected my life all the time. Without the NHS, I would have been suffering for a very long time. But also the NHS has, for my mental health, been exceptional and probably in fact saved my life. I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder about a year and a half ago. I'm still currently in therapy for that. Basically, I owe pretty much everything to the NHS, and I think if we lose it, it will be probably the biggest downfall this country will ever suffer. So yeah, I owe a lot, probably my life, to the NHS at the minute, and still do.
How do you think the current situation is for the NHS right now?
Having been in hospitals recently and spoken to friends and family members who work in the NHS, nurses and doctors, it's pretty appalling, and it needs further investment. It needs to be cherished and it needs to be loved, and that's what the staff and the people who work in the NHS are calling out for every single day.
I mean, the staff are obviously crazy under-resourced, and what they do is incredible, and the level of care and detail they give is amazing when they have so many problems and they face so many challenges every day. We saw firsthand how under-resourced they were, but how they went above and beyond to kind of plug a gap that they shouldn't have to plug.